Hey gang, what's up? Just Aaron here. Question period Canada. Question period was intense today. Trudeau did show up. No hooky today. Usually he's away from the Parliament floor, but he was there today, dividing and distracting Canadians. The more I watch this guy, the more I want Canadians just to see him in action, because he is an animal. Like, he's not helping Canadians and thinks that he can just continue to divide and distract this country. Fortunately, Poilievre is there to set him straight. I don't think Poilievre is the next best thing, but he's better than Trudeau, and boy oh boy do we need an election to get rid of this carbon tax and a whole bunch of other terrible initiatives, plans, ideas Trudeau and his Liberal cabinet have. It's time for these Liberals to go. Let's get into the highlights from today's question period.
Crime is way up. Violent crime is up 40% under this Prime Minister. And today he had his ministers hold a big press conference as their solution. And in it, they put out a press release that said, and I quote, "In 2022, approximately 9,600 vehicles were stolen in the Toronto area alone, representing a 300% increase since 2015. End quote. What happened in 2015? I know, he happened, Mr. Speaker. How can we make him unhappen and stop the crime?
In 2015, Stephen Harper presented a budget that had slashed funds for policing, slashed funds for CBSA officers, slashed funding for Veterans Affairs Services, and we were there to clean up the mess, to cut taxes for the wealthiest 1%.
Whose taxes did he cut? Let's check that out again. I think he said the 1%. Let's check. Just saying, he's really deaf to the audience, man. Like, who cares about the 1%?
Lower them for the middle class, to support families, to start moving forward on gun control in real ways, while the Conservatives cozy up to the American gun lobbies. We've continued to step up and keeping Canadians safe. Let them bring assault weapons back to our streets. We'll keep Canadians safe.
Trudeau is losing his mind, guys. He's out of control.
Wow, is he ever losing control of himself? Oh my goodness. Screaming and hollering like that. Mr. Speaker, it's his press release that says that in Toronto, auto thefts are up 300% since he took office. The Prime Minister needs a summit to find out about the problem of auto theft. We can help him. He is the problem. It was his policies that caused the 300% increase in auto theft in Toronto. He's asked for solutions. Well, we have some of those too. Will the Prime Minister agree to reverse his catch and release bail policy for car thieves, end house arrest for those who steal cars, and put an end to his incompetence at the Port of Montreal, from which so many of our vehicles are being shipped to organized crime and terrorist networks abroad?
I can only speak for myself here. I don't care about the Ukraine. I don't care about Russia. I don't care about that faraway foreign place that involves me. Just about zero. I've got nothing against either of those countries either. They say Russia's on one side and Ukraine is the good guy. I have no idea about that. I don't know. What is going on there? No clue. All I know is this idea that Ukrainians come before Canadians doesn't add up to me. Like, Canadians can barely afford to eat these days or find housing. Like, come on. Trudeau, who cares about the Ukraine, bud?
Is right. Before the holidays, Canadians all witnessed the leader of the opposition forcing his caucus to turn their back on Ukraine. They turned their backs on fundamental Canadian principles and bowed down to the pro-Russian narrative. I know the leader won't change his mind, but Ukrainian Canadians across the prairies are hoping that at least some brave Conservative MPs will do the right thing and vote their conscience and their principles. Let everyone in this House who stands with Ukraine stand up and be counted.
Would it be so bad for Trudeau for you to put Canada in front of the Ukraine? And honestly, you sound like a hypocrite with some of the things that Poilievre is going to say. Are you in favor of Russia as well? What is up?
Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, what this Prime Minister has is a pro-Russia energy policy that forces the Europeans to buy their energy from Russia by denying Canadians the ability to sell our own. He prefers military equipment for Putin instead of paychecks for Canadians. He does want to export detonators and turbines to Putin so he can pump his gas and power his landmines. Why doesn't he stop using Ukraine as a political tool and actually do something to stand up and help win the war?
More of Trudeau talking about Ukraine. What is this obsession with the Ukraine?
Ukrainian Canadians from across the prairies are begging their MPs to please stand up for Ukraine. Will they do that, Mr. Speaker, in the upcoming Ukraine free trade vote?
Am I on the outside here looking in, and most Canadians care more about what's going on in Ukraine and Russia than they do about housing issues and grocery prices and inflation here in Canada? Inflation in Russia is almost zero.
Mr. Speaker, on this, like everything else, he is a fake and he is a phony.
Oh my goodness, Pierre, what was that?
Mr. Speaker, on this, like everything else, he is a fake and he is a phony. Let's go for the fact. Fake and he's a phony.
I think you should be allowed to call Justin Trudeau a fake and a phony, but not in Parliament, so Greg Fergus steps in. We try to keep Greg out of the highlights, but yeah, he's in them now.
Like everything else, he is a fake and he is a phony. Let's go for the fact. Fake and he's a phony.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition is a well-experienced man in Parliament. I would caution him to avoid using language like that could cause disruption and could be interpreted differently.
This thing is just getting going. Pay attention. It's going to get interesting. Poilievre is going to turn it up, and so is Trudeau. It gets really weird. You've got to see it.
The Honourable Member from the top, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
His carbon tax deal does not distract from the fact that he announced $400 million in surface-to-air equipment that he has still not delivered. Right. What he did deliver is detonators to Putin so that Putin could put them in landmines and blow up Ukrainians. He delivered a turbine that was refurbished in Montreal so that Putin could put it in his pipelines and pump gas and make money off Europe that we should be bringing home to this country. Why is it that he always stands up for the dirty dictators like Putin instead of the paychecks for our people?
Once again, I would caution all members to be very careful about how they impugn motivations to other members, specifically to specific members. And this was the subject of a declaration which the chair had made back in October. And I encourage all members to please refer to it again to making sure that we keep on the right side of parliamentary language. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, when the Leader of the Opposition refers to Ukraine as some faraway foreign land, when he continues to insist that all of his MPs, including Ukrainian Canadian MPs, vote against a free trade agreement that Volodymyr Zelensky is asking us to vote for to support Ukraine, he can't hide behind the kind of misinformation and disinformation that he regularly peddles in. It's very simple, Mr. Speaker. Will
this guy, Greg Fergus, enough is enough. Like, he always has to remind members for decorum, and he's just a lot to tolerate all the time.
To the same degree that I just made a statement to to a member in this House, I will make it again. Please be there. I would invite all members to please listen to their whips for a second, and I will. Can you have them sit down when you're up? Thank you. It's important. I invite all members, please, to be very careful about impugning motivations or associating members with governments that we do find in this House to be disreputable, if not odious. So I'm just looking for all of us to make sure that we stay on the right, that we all wait and do our turn. And I will ask the honourable member from South Shore St. Margaret's to please come and speak to me at the chair, and we'll have an opportunity to discuss this. The honourable leader of the opposition.
Mr. Speaker, he could not point to a single thing that I said that was untrue, because it is all factual. It is a fact that we already have an excellent trade agreement with Ukraine, that it does not include a carbon tax, and that there is no need for a carbon tax to be in any free trade agreement. In fact, there never has been a need for a carbon tax in any other free trade agreement in the history. But while he remembered a carbon tax, he forgot to include in the deal a ban on him sending detonators and turbines over to Putin. Why is it that he's so determined to allow Putin to acquire weapons and money rather than having a real free trade deal with Ukraine?
The right honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the official opposition has an opportunity to correct the record from him having called Ukraine a faraway foreign land by allowing his Ukrainian Canadian MPs, at a very least, to vote in favor of the renewal of the Canada-Ukraine Free Trade Agreement coming up for a vote in the coming days. It is an opportunity for those who choose to stand with Ukraine to stand with Ukraine in this House and be counted. Why is he muzzling his Ukrainian Canadian MPs?
The honourable leader of the opposition.
Mr. Speaker, we are 100% united in our support of Ukraine and in our opposition to the carbon tax. 100% united. This is what he does. He divides. He wants to distract from the fact that he doubled housing costs, caused 30 homeless encampments in Halifax, caused shootings to go up by 100%, drug overdoses up by 300%. It is no wonder that he would want to use fear and falsehoods to distract from his many failures, and that is exactly what he is doing. Why won't he finally unite this country instead of trying to divide and conquer?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, this House used to be united in its support of Ukraine and its support of Volodymyr Zelensky. And yet now we see.
We're going to please ask the Prime Minister to start up again. I'm going to ask all members, please, to listen to the response without interruption so that we can have an orderly House. Prime Minister from the top.
Mr. Speaker, this House used to be united in its unequivocal support for Ukraine, and then the Leader of the Opposition disparagingly referred to Ukraine as a faraway foreign land, something for which he has not yet apologized, and has demanded that all his MPs, including Prairie MPs who have strong Ukrainian-Canadian populations, vote against a free trade deal that Volodymyr Zelensky has deliberately and directly asked Canadians to support. When will he stand up for Ukraine?
We definitely have to get rid of Greg Fergus. It's time for him to go too, these Liberals. But in the meantime, we've got to put up with them. Okay, Trudeau won't answer a damn question. This is a real simple one from Poilievre, but Trudeau, watch what he does. Canadians need to see it.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Years, this Prime Minister is not worth the cost of housing, which has doubled since he promised to lower it. But there is good news. Rent is down for the 8th consecutive month in the United States. Right. Meanwhile, it has more than doubled under this Prime Minister. It's up 9% in the last year alone. Can the Prime Minister explain why is rent going down in the States while it skyrockets under his leadership here at home?
Okay. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
I'd like to give the Leader of the Opposition another opportunity to apologize for referring to Ukraine as disparagingly as a faraway foreign land.
Fortunately, Pierre Poilievre is there to put the stop to Trudeau's foolishness. This game has to end with Trudeau.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Speaker, the question was about rent in Canada. Rent prices have doubled after 8 years of this Prime Minister. They have tripled in his home city of Montreal. And now, according to the Home Builders of Canada, they expect that construction numbers will actually plummet this year relative to the prior years. They say that this will lead to higher prices, and they say we require, quote, policy changes to reverse it. Will the Prime Minister finally accept a common sense plan to build the homes so Canadians can afford the rent?
How do you think Trudeau's going to respond to that?
Speaker, once again, I didn't hear an apology to Ukrainians. I encourage him to do that. People are waiting for it. At the same time, Mr. Speaker, I can remind this House that we have signed dozens of housing accelerator fund agreements across the country that are leading to the construction of hundreds of thousands of new homes in the coming years. We've eliminated GST off of purpose-built rental apartments. We're moving forward on an interest-free savings account for first-time home buyers. But again, I encourage the Leader of the Opposition to apologize for referring to Ukraine as some faraway foreign.
It is a faraway foreign land though, right? Like, is it not? Like, they speak different languages. It is far away. It's foreign. It's not domestic. Like, Trudeau is a hypocrite and a liar and a fraud. And I just want Canadians to see what I'm seeing. These have been the highlights of Question Period Canada. We'll send you out with a Poilievre zinger just because we do like Poilievre. Like, he's a better option than Trudeau. I assure us all that. My name's Aaron. This is Question Period Canada. These have been the highlights from Question Period January 31. And we'll be back tomorrow with a lot more stuff. Something interesting has happened. I've opened up a lot more time to dedicate to this channel. And boy, oh boy, are we going to be dedicated. I cannot wait. I would recommend liking and subscribing, getting notified even, because if you're interested in Canadian politics, I will be one of the best voices to listen to. I care about the people at the grocery store, man. I'm not a conservative or a liberal or some old NDP or Bloc. Come on. We're here to take care of fellow Canadians and show everybody what is going on. That's it. Aaron, Question Period Canada. Catch you next video. Thank you so much for watching. We're growing and we're going to continue to grow. We're going to get better at it. And just let me know in the comments what you'd like to see. That's it. Catch you next video. Thank you so much for watching. Guys, our leader is out of his mind. Just watch Trudeau. He is a nut. Poilievre tries to straighten him out. He can't be dealt with.
On this side of the House, without question, we will never back down in our support of Ukraine. Slava Ukraini!
What the hell is Trudeau talking about? Why is he talking in that Russian tongue?
Speaker, the Prime Minister Minister could not care less about Ukraine. He only cares about the fact that he's losing the carbon tax debate so badly that he would suggest that anyone who's against the carbon tax is against Ukraine. The exact opposite is true. He's not bringing in a free trade agreement with Ukraine. We already have a free trade agreement with Ukraine, which conservatives initiated and he had no part in. So will the Prime Minister stop trying to distract from his losing debate on...
That's it. Like and subscribe. Pierre Poilievre trounces Trudeau.